Hey guys, EVP Man here. Now in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a brand new product that was brought to us by Creality. And this is the Creality CR Scan Lizard. This is a handheld, portable scanner that's going to allow you to scan a variety of objects that you may want to reproduce either for 3D printing or if you have an online shop and would like to have a three-dimensional object. Now, we're going to take a look at the features, we're going to talk about how this works and really how it really compares to other products that do 3D scanning on the market. One of the really big, say, game changers of this product is that it could scan dark objects. So let's go ahead and check it out. Now, one of the first things that we'll talk about are the specs for the CR Scan Lizard. Now, the CR Scan Lizard is going to be able to capture at 0.05 millimeters, which is going to be giving you a great amount of detail. The other thing about this product is that it doesn't require any markers. We've reviewed other scanners before, checking them out, and to see if they've actually delivered on overall quality and scan capability. And in many cases, those scanners require you to put little dots, like these little dots all over the actual objects to actually make them work. And frankly, they haven't really worked as advertised. They've been actually very difficult to work. This product requires no markers, and it works both handheld and also in a tripod mode, and you're going to see what's included in the pack. The other thing about this scanner that is also different from other scanners in the market is that it can scan in bright areas and in sunlight. I've seen some advertising from other manufacturers where they show someone on the outside scanning an object, and it just doesn't work in direct sunlight. It just doesn't work. So this product actually works in bright areas as well as in sunlight, which also sets it apart. And that gives you, I would say, more usage, right? So if you're outside and you want to scan, let's say, like a statue type of things, even though that will take some time, you can because you can actually work in sunlight. The other thing that is also a changer for me is this. You can actually scan dark objects. Now you're going to see that this object right here is kind of a little dusty. And this is because I was testing another scanner and it wasn't able to scan it. And I actually had to put like baby powder on it. I had to add some lightness to it so that it could actually scan. This product doesn't have a problem with dark objects. So if you're looking at scanning, let's say parts, machinery, because people are scanning even car parts with this stuff, and you have a dark object to scan, well, you're going to be able to scan it with this as well. Now, the working distance, for the scan distance from the scanner is going to be anywhere from 5 to 15 inches away from your object. So that's going to give you kind of like a sense of how far away you can go when you're going to scan it. So you're not going to be feet away, but it's going to be anywhere from 5 to 15 inches. You're also going to be able to scan, or the output is going to be either in an OBJ or an STL or a PLY format. So you're going to be able to use programs that can accept those formats when it comes to editing. The other thing is that it will work both in Windows and also on a Mac. So that's going to also give you a lot of flexibility. So let's take a look at how it ships and what you can expect. Now, one of the cool things about this scanner is because it's so small and it's intended to be portable, they give you a nice travel bag. So this is the little travel bag that you receive, or actual case. And it does keep your scanner nice and secure. I'm going to go ahead and open this up just to give you a sense of what's going on inside, because we're going to take a peek at all of the parts and features. So this is what it looks like on the inside. So this makes it really, really portable so that if you want to take it with you to an area that will allow you to scan things, you can actually take this with you in a bag, and it's going to be nice and secure. Now, as far as what do you get, what's included, let's go ahead and take a look. Now, inside the case, you're going to find your scanner. It's also going to have a power cord, and that cord, which you attach, has two terminals at the end, right? One of them is going to be for your power, and the other one is going to be a standard USB-A port. Now, if let's say, for example, you have a Mac and you're concerned about, well, you know what, I don't have a USB-A, all I have is USB-C. I've been really successful at using an adapter like this. So this is kind of like the adapter, right, that you would use in order to be able to convert it from USB-A to a USB-C port. Now, you also have this power adapter that's right here. This power adapter gets plugged in here. So this goes to your PC, this goes to the power adapter to be able to power up the actual scanner itself. Now, you do have this display area, or this rotating, I would say, stand. And what this does is it makes it really easy for you to scan objects. And you notice it does have some markings on it that we talked about, right? But as you're scanning the object itself, you don't need it. This is really to give you the ability to eliminate the base that you see these markings here. But it's a standard rotating base, and literally it's something that you just put your item on there that you'd like to scan if it's a small item, and you run it that way. This too is powered via a USB-A port. Now, what I've done is, since I have a more modern device like a Mac or some of the newer Windows laptops that doesn't have really USB-A ports, I've used these converters on both cases. So I power this via the laptop or a power brick, and then I connect this to the power, and I use the converter to connect it to either my Mac or if I connect it to a Windows device. Now the other thing that you have, and it's this thing right here, is this little tripod or monopod. This is going to give you the ability to raise the actual scanner above an area if you have a small thing or part that you're going to be scanning. Remember, you could also use this in handhold mode. So what I do is, when I'm doing something larger, like if I want to, let's say, highlight something, what I do is I take this item, I put it like this, and then I use this at almost like if this was a handle, right? So the actual scanner itself has some threads here, so I basically lock that in like this, and then when I'm scanning, I find that it's easier to scan like this, right? So that I have, this is my handle, right? And then I just am able to scan the item slowly. Now, scanning with these, it works relatively well, actually very well compared to some of the other items that I've tested before. It scans well, but it does require patience. And I want to say that there is a skill to this, right? You just can't go zoom, right, and then just get it. It's not like scanning a page, but it does capture a lot of detail. And again, you're going to be able to see different levels of scanning, either if you want to reproduce something that you'd like to print, or if it's going to be something that you want to put like on a website and you want to be able to rotate, like gym shoes, furniture, all these kind of things that you'd be able to scan with this. But what I like about it is the size and the entire kit. Now, we're going to move this stuff around and let's take a closer look at the scanner so you can see what's going on. Now, the scanner itself is made out of or has like a plastic shell around it, which I really like. It is easy to palm, so if you want to hold it like this and scan this way, you could as well. You do have the actual connector here that you just plug in that I have here, and then this is the scanning surface. It does, depending on the scan mode that you have, emit some flashes, right? But you can scan a person as well. Like if you want to do a self-scan of your face, you could do that as well, right? Or of a body part or of a person, you can. Especially, I've seen a lot of YouTubers that do a lot of large 3D cosplay items where they scan themselves and use that as their model. Now, I've done that as well. So I have an actual scan of my head so that as I'm building out some type of helmet or something like that, I have a full 3D scan of myself so I can do some really good sizing. Now, we said on the bottom you do have your threads right here where you'd be able to mount it, and then you just have some venting. The one thing I will say is maybe it's because of the the scan that is taking place, this is loud, right? So there is a high intense fan, almost like white noise that comes from it when you're using it that you'll hear, right? So it's not going to be like super disruptive, but it's also not silent. Just want to highlight that. Now, the software itself is the same software that Creality has for the previous version of the scanner. And what I would say about that is it's going to be depending on which device you have connected. Now, the software that it has is the same software that Creality has for their first generation scanner, the larger scanner. So you'll be able to use it for that and this one. And if you have both, you should be able to use the software on both devices. It all depends on which one is plugged in. Now, anytime you're going to start a scan, the very first thing that you're going to do is you're going to want to do a preview just to look at the lighting conditions. Now, I have a very bright area. I actually moved because I wanted to make sure that we were testing this out and it addressed some of the limitations that most scanners have. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the item that I'm going to scan, and I'm going to go ahead and place it right here. You see that right on the side, and the scanner is still in place. And what we're going to do is we're going to conduct a preview. Now, as this is going through and doing the preview, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to see how much of the item is being captured. And you do have the ability to change the brightness going from low to high. There isn't any increments here is what I found, at least this may be because of how the software is at this time, but you'll notice that by switching it to brighter or higher brightness, it was able to capture a lot more. So you can see the item right here rotating nicely. Now, I'll probably leave it at that higher brightness just to see. You do have the ability to determine if you're going to be really focusing on geometry or texture. I'm going to leave it as is for now. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to go to the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it. And now the next step here is to do an initialization. And the initialization is going to look at the actual base itself. So you notice that the base came up in red. You want to do this step because what it will do is it will knock out that base when it gets scanned. If not, you'll have to edit it. And what you want to do is, as much as possible, is reduce any kind of editing you need to do. And once again, the cool thing about the scanner is that not only will you be able to scan items like this, but in handheld mode, you can scan larger items too. And again, this is going to be items of different colors, not just white. In many cases, what happens with scans, just to guys give you kind of heads up, is like if you look at this item right here that we were showing at the very beginning, that item you have to basically put like some dry shampoo, I would say some chalk on it to be able to get something. So I don't want to minimize the importance of testing out a dark object. So we're going to go ahead and put it here. Oh, wait a minute. We're going to go ahead and hit stop first, right? Let it do a couple more rotations so it calibrates. And then what we're going to do is put in the item that we're going to scan, right? And now what we're going to do is we're going to hit scan. I want to see how much of this dark object is actually being captured. Now, notice everything that's coming up right here. This is really, really good, right? Notice how much detail. There's still some stuff that's missing. We'll probably have to do a couple scans, but this is just to show you in this, again, pre-release, what you can expect on the amount of detail it's picking up. And it's doing a really, really good job for a dark object like that. Now let's take a look at that initial scan, right? So we'll take a look at it. We'll zoom in to see how much was captured. And take a look at that. That's really good. Again, having tested a lot of scanners, and again, we haven't really flipped it over. Having tested a lot of scanners and really looking at the overall quality that we're able to get, especially as we're thinking about this dark object, it was able to pick up a lot. Even the texture difference that you have here came up. You can see that. And then you can see even this area here that is kind of like the cutouts. It did really well. Now this area right here, it did kind of interpret it a little bit red, and that's those 2 points that you see there. I think that's fine, right? And let's take a look at what else it did. Now we'd probably benefit from another scan, right? And we'll probably go ahead and do that. But overall, again, did a really nice job of capturing at least that dark object. Let's run one more time. Now what we're going to do is we're going to choose append. And what append will do is basically capture another image and include it with this image. So we're going to go ahead and hit append. And it's going to ask me to save the file. You're going to see that come up in a second. So I'll go ahead and do scan. And you'll notice it's going to ask me to save it. So I'm going to call this I'm going to call it cam3, all right? And I would hit save. And now it's going to go into scanning mode immediately. So, right? So what this is going to do is it's going to give us a second scan that we can actually combine with the previous scan to get the best possible image. Now, we do have the ability to capture a couple different frame rates here. So you have a low frame rate, a mid frame rate, and a high frame rate. Sometimes the low frame rate does a better job of capturing dark objects, at least in my experience. I have had, because of the lighter objects, I've typically been able to scan them at a high. A lighter object could be something like this. So this right here is a bolt that we were scanning. Let's get that in focus for y'all. So this is something like this. This is a PETG bolt that we printed, and it had no issues with this one at all because, once again, it's a light object. All right, so our second scan is complete, and you can see them on top of each other, pretty decently aligned. Let's go ahead and get closer to it. All right, it's not bad. And we haven't even aligned it, right? So it basically did a really nice job of getting that aligned. All right, so let's go ahead and now the other thing I could do is I could continue to scan things. Like I can flip this over and then scan the bottom because, I just don't want the top portion, but I want this bottom piece right here so that it can slide into that tripod mount. But what we're going to do is we're going to see what it was able to do with this right here. So the next step for me is I'm going to actually either hit next right here to start processing. All right, so we went ahead and hit the process button. Now what it's going to do is give us those options. We want to have the auto line. We're not going to do any holes fills because we want those holes there. And it has our 2 scans. Now keep in mind that I could have 5, 6, 7 scans. Again, trying to get the best detail that I'd look for. So we're going to let it align. I'm going to see how well it did. Remember, this is still beta software, so it may not be 100% perfect. So we're going to zoom in a little bit. That doesn't look that bad. So we're going to go ahead and hit next. The impressive part about this is, once again, that it doesn't have any dots either. So there are typically markers that I've seen or I've experienced myself with some other scanners that I've had to put on items so that it doesn't lose the actual tracking. And in this case, it was able to see it, not only see it, but also identify the texture, identify again all the grooves and the holes. And as I were to flip this over and scan some of the other pieces that I can add to the scan, then I could actually get a full representation of what this piece looks like. Run it on my printer, either PETG, ABS, or PLA, whichever one I would want. And then I have a backup or a secondary, I would say, mounting plate for my cameras. All right, so it already finished the processing, and this is what it was able to capture. And keep in mind that, again, this is not a final version of the software, so you can see that there's some opportunities here, really. But what we're looking at is, what was it able to capture, again, this black image? Notice, again, all the grooves have come out. Again, the texture that we had from this mounting plate. And what you find is when you do any kind of scan like this is that there is always going to be a certain amount of editing or cleanup that you're going to have to do. The depth right here looks pretty good as well. So as I look at that mounting plate, and once again, we didn't scan the underside, but it did capture, interestingly, look at this right here. Let's go ahead and zoom in. It was able to capture, again, almost like the depth of this, right? So if we had scanned the other side, we could then mesh this together and we would have made one solid piece. Now here's another example of something that we're going to be scanning. So this is a faceplate that we recently printed for a Voron project that we're working on. And what we're going to do is scan this faceplate and see how much is captured. Again, it's another black object, so let's check it out. So we're going to go through the same process. We're going to go ahead and do a preview so we can see what is captured in the object. All right, so we can see what we can capture. We're going to leave it at the low frame rate. I find that that works best for what I like to do. And what we're going to do is we're going to stop. I'm going to do the initial. That's going to pick up the actual surface that we want to knock out. I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to now place the faceplate, and I'm going to hit scan. And again, what we just want to see is how much of this is being picked up, given again the black material itself. We're not spraying it, we're not dusting it, we're not doing any of that stuff. Just want to see what it can pick up, and check that out. That's pretty good again. A lot of detail coming through. And again, with multiple scans and with final software, this is going to get even better. Take a look at that. Wow, that's pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and see. We'll go ahead and process this one. I want to see how much of it captured. And again, you would typically do multiple scans of this, but we're just going to do a single scan because I just want to see how much detail captured on a single scan. Wow, take a look at that. Take a look at that. That's pretty good. That's actually really good. So again, if you're looking to be able to scan items like this, oh wow, look at how much depth it picked up here on the side. So if you're looking to scan items like this, you're looking really to be able to reproduce. I see a lot of my friends who have scanners like this that are looking at reproducing small items, even car parts. You can see how much of this you'd be able to just pick up. The other thing that I found is in my test, at least, is that the actual I would say dimensions are really, really close. They're just off slightly, really, really small. But this looks really, really good. Again, let's bring this over here. This is the part that we scanned. This is the part or what it captured. Right? That looks really good. Look at the side. And that was just on a single scan. Now the scanner has two modes that it can operate in. We've been testing out the tabletop, and now we're going to move to the hand scan mode. And in the hand scan mode, I kind of use the tripod as a handle, and I have it connected here so you can see how it's mounted. What we're going to do is we're going to try this out. This is one of the more trickier sides of, I would say, of the scanner, at least at this time. I'm going to change the brightness here. All right, so for my settings, I have geometry, I have big, and then I have low, but with the high brightness. I'm going to hold the scanner steady for a little bit just to get it kicked off, and we'll see how much is being captured. Okay, and we'll move around, and this is the All right, so let's take a look at how much it's captured. You saw that there was a little trial and error there. I expect that's going to improve, but again, taking a look at this object, right? I was not able to scan this object with some other scanners that I've been testing at all. Could not get anywhere. The only way I could get this object scanned was to paint it white. Look at how much detail we've captured here. Now, keep in mind that this is kind of a very rustic thinking man, right? It's kind of rough. But look at how much of the thinking man came through. That is, again, very, very impressive, right? And I'm sure that as we look at final firmware, and those of you who are participating in the Kickstarter, once you look at the final version, this is going to be very, very much improved. Very impressed indeed. So guys, that wraps up our review of the Creality CR Scan Lizard. See you in the next video.